Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis. Those four people could simply say, we're going to caucus with the Democrats starting tomorrow, and the Senate is now controlled by a gang of four. And these people are old. They are not running for anything again. They would not lose anything material. They would not go to jail for this. And the idea that it is unthinkable that Republicans could just do that and decide that they're going to be in it, I don't understand it. Hey everybody, it's JVL. My best friend is out. I'm joined by Bill Kristol. Bill, everything is terrible. So you and I were just talking before you hopped on. We're going to discuss the appointments bonanza. And there are both, we can talk about the trees, but we should also talk about the forest. So let's start by talking about the trees. Okay. I wrote yesterday that we woke up on Wednesday thinking that Pete Hegseth was the most ridiculous major cabinet appointment ever made in the history of the federal government. By the time we sat down to dinner, he looked like Robert Gaetz. Because Matt Gaetz as Attorney General and Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, I'm actually more worked up over Tulsi than I am Matt Gaetz, although I understand the difference. The AG can do things domestically, which are quite dangerous. But Tulsi Gabbard is, I wrote this yesterday, I don't know whether she sees herself as a Russian asset, but the Russians obviously see her as an asset. And it's astonishing to put somebody at the head of the director of national intelligence who could not pass a basic CIA background check for an analyst position. And that's true of Trump, of course, but Trump was elected. Right. She's just getting appointed, right? It's the craziest thing, and it's going to basically hobble the American intelligence community for a generation, I think, and is likely to break down all intelligence sharing among our allies, among the Five Eyes, right? If you're the Brits, you cannot share intelligence with us knowing that it's going to go to her, and she is essentially on Putin's side.
Yeah, you had an excellent piece on Tulsi, which I agree. I mean, they're all so horrible. Each is horrible in its own way. I mean, Hegseth's so radically unfit for defense secretary. Gaetz was beyond belief at justice. And we should come back to Gaetz because that's important. I think I agree about Tulsi, though. And then Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS, which we should also talk about. So, I mean, you have, and these are, HHS is a little different, but these are the power ministries, if you want to use the social science terminology. I mean, I remember when, State Department, they often give that in authoritarian regimes to some respectable person who can travel abroad and get,
right.
and have.
That's why Rubio's there.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. But what matters? What matters is the White House itself. That's Stephen Miller. What matters is the Justice Department for obvious reasons. Would be Gaetz if he gets confirmed. What matters is the intelligence community. That would be Tulsi Gabbard if she's now confirmed. Defense, that's Hegseth. So if this were a foreign country and this were happening, you would very easy for students of authoritarian transitions, and democratic collapse to say what's going on here. So, and I think he's doing it quite purposefully. Whether he figured this out or Bannon and Miller and Musk and he figured it out, who knows? But that's the forest. But on the trees, Gabbard, people who haven't been in government, I always think, don't even understand how terrible it is. That is to say, what do you do if you're a senior intelligence officer in the U.S. government and you get a request from DNI, from the director? I'd like a briefing on the opposition forces in Syria and where they are and what they're up to and what their chances are. I mean, she's a total Assad apologist and stooge, as well as with Putin. So what if same thing with briefing on Ukraine? I don't know. What do you do? I mean, literally, what do you do? I mean, do you brief her and knowing that you could be costing the lives of our friends over there and of Ukrainians? Yes. She'll pass on that information. God knows how or where. Do you not? Do you refuse? Do you quit? I mean, the degree to which it could just gut the intelligence community, decent people. Now, they can't all get jobs, so some of them will have to just keep their heads down, I suppose, or not just can't get jobs, but they think they can outlast her. Well, that's good. I would encourage people to stay and try to do so. But it's going to be awful. And we are the center. I mean, the British can withhold intelligence from us, and that could be in particular cases. That they should do that, I suppose, if this happens. But we have the mass accumulator of intelligence. So it's one thing for France to have a bad intelligence director, and we kind of cut them out of things for a while. You can't really cut the U.S. out of things for a while. And so, I mean, it's really horrible. I just no, it's just they should not. And so for me, this is the test. I mean, she above all, but I'd say she and Gaetz. Well, I'd say Kennedy too. And I'm appalled by Hegseth since I know him and knew him back in the day, and he certainly is not fit to be defense secretary. But at least the first three. If the Republican Senate yes, it is a Republican Senate. If the Republican Senate confirms those three, that's one reason Trump's doing it, don't you think? He will have broken them. I mean, they already were broken, basically, but he will have confirmed that he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. So this, I mean, I guess let's just jump to the forest and then we'll zoom in on the trees. My view of this is that Trump believes there are two roadblocks to him having full and unbridled executive control of the country and to eventually running for office again. One of those blocks is the Republican Senate. And so he needs to break them so that they no longer even operate under the illusion that they might oppose him, right? Because that's like the strategic ambiguity is Republicans telling themselves that they could, we might defend our prerogatives, right? He wants to make it clear to them and to everybody that they won't. And so that's why he made the demand of the people running for majority leader that they agree with recess appointments and got them to agree prospectively to it. That's why he's nominating people who are so manifestly unfit, right, and dangerous, because it's like a loyalty test.
Yeah, it's
right?
like the mafia, right? This is another.
It's like the mafia, right? Yeah. This is another loyalty test. But the other is the last one then is the Supreme Court. And this is why I am utterly convinced that we are going to very soon find ourselves in a place where he is forcing an issue before the Supreme Court, where he's going to dare them to rule against him, with the fear for them being that, like, well, what if we rule against him and he doesn't do it? Now, this is something Elon Musk has done very successfully with the SEC. If you followed Musk's career over and over, like the SEC says, like, Elon, you can't do that. And then he does it. And he has clearly broken the letter of the law. This happened like with his market manipulation with Twitter, right? Where he was tweeting things to manipulate markets. And then, they would get him to agree that he wouldn't do it again in a written agreement. And then he would just do it again anyway. The idea was to make the SEC realize that they did not have the appetite to do what would be required to break him. And so they were broken instead. And that, I think, is going to be the exact same dynamic with regards to the Supreme Court, right? And so, John Roberts is going to be sitting there thinking, my God, what if we rule against him and he refuses to comply? And then the entire court is broken as an institution, right? Then you are at a moment of constitutional crisis because we can't enforce our ruling. And so he's going to bend over backwards to try to not rule against Trump, which will, again, like with the Senate, will have the same effect, right? It's,
Right. I mean, that's dark, and that one's probably a little further off than the moment of truth for the Senate, which is the next 2 months, obviously. But incidentally, I do think, I wonder if birthright citizenship is the thing they're teeing up to do that with.
Yeah, I think that's what that's for. I think birthright citizenship is designed to do that, actually.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think you wrote that. That's a very good point. Look, on the Senate thing, this is the moment. That is to say, we will know, and we'll know before January 20th just how much personalized authoritarian autocratic power Trump will have. If some Republican senators think, oh my God, I've been duped and suckered and also acquiescent and weak and cowardly before for years, but this is too much. This is kind of what it literally means to be a senator, is to advise and consent to nominees and not let them just shove someone down your throat who's totally beyond the pale. And there are people who are, of course, senators, incidentally, who are chairs of relevant committees, who presumably care about intelligence, who presumably care about the Defense Department, who presumably care about vaccines and HHS. So you're really forcing them. It's not just a generic stupid senator. You're forcing people who have some pride, you might say, in their role in policymaking in these areas and appropriations in these areas and oversight to swallow these people. I guess they can rationalize it. Well, we'll have oversight of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. How much damage could he really do there? But So I feel like, yes, this is the moment of truth. We're sitting. I remember, I think I said this before the election. You and I discussed this once or twice, that people think that the Trump term begins January 20th, and it does literally. But the Trump term began the night of the election, and some of the most consequential things that will be decided about Trump's degree of personalized and autocratic power, and whether everyone's going to yield to him, whether it's Republican elected officials or his own donors or the business community. We can come back to that in a minute. A lot of that will be decided before January 20th. These next 2 months are very important, I think.
And I just want to, I feel as though we skip over the idea that Republicans are powerless. And we often go right to well, what are they supposed to do? It is not true that Republicans are powerless. It is Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, Tom Tillis.
Yep.
Those 4 people could simply say, we're going to caucus with the Democrats starting tomorrow, and the Senate is now controlled by a gang of 4. And these people are old. They are not running for anything again. They would not lose anything material. They would not go to jail for this. And the idea that it is unthinkable that Republicans could just do that and decide that they're going to be in it, I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Kristen Sinema could do it. Joe Manchin could do it. These guys can't. I don't what.
Well, but I mean,
why is that?
Even more minimally, I that's very interesting and important. But to start with, they could just say they're not voting for these people, right? And they could kill them all.
Right.
I mean, that's like each of these nominees. We're going to have hearings. We're going to have this. We're going to investigate. Maybe they're all praying that something comes back from the FBI investigation that will kill these people, so they don't have to actually take a stance. But of course, the administration will ignore the FBI findings. They know it. We know about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. What are they going to find? And so that's fake. Then there'll be hearings, maybe. These people will do terribly, some of them, but the Fox won't say they're doing terribly. So these Republican senators won't quite have the excuse of having the decision made for them. They could say today, the 4 you mentioned, and there are others incidentally as well, could say today, no, I'm sorry. We can't confirm the following 4 people. We love Donald Trump. We love Marco Rubio. We like whoever is going to put as Treasury Secretary. We like this and that. We don't have any say on the White House appointments like Steve Miller, I suppose. But we approve of some of these others. But these 4, I'm sorry, right? I mean, or at least they could say, even more minimally, very doubtful. They'd have to climb a steep hill. My presumption is a no. But I mean, the degree to, and incidentally, there's just other people who aren't powerless. Republican donors. I don't know. Don't they have some influence on these senators? CEOs. I mean, Howard Lutnick, who was the co-chair of the transition team, he's the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, a close friend of Trump's, I guess plays golf all the time, said to Caitlin Collins on October 30th, the week before the election, no way, no chance, don't worry, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be HHS Secretary. I mean, she asked him, or it sounds like Kennedy might be HHS, and he said, no chance. Is anyone going to say, well, gee, maybe these reassurances aren't worth very much? I mean, he's, of course, but it's the same as things going to happen over and over and over again. Every finance guy who went to Mar-a-Lago and sort of thinks that someone was told, if not by Trump directly, by Susie Wiles, that it'll be okay. The tariffs, they kind of pull back at the end,
don't worry.
And the other stuff. Trump is sending a signal of pure power, pure ability to do what he wants, and that the effect of it, I'm afraid, is not going to be what it should be, which is people saying, wait a second, this is intolerable. We need to get together. We have the business roundtable come out against Robert. I said this actually, I was just on some finance, Yahoo Finance, whatever. And I said, I mean, I don't know. The business roundtable could say, Robert, Pfizer's kind of a big company, right? And others. Yeah. They say, this is unacceptable. This guy cannot be head of HHS. I mean, we're against him. We're going to lobby the Hill against him. We lobby the Hill in favor of other people. We lobby the Hill against him. But we know that's not going to happen because they're all going to suck up and try to carve out their own little exception.
Right. They all think that because there's so much corruption, that they will be able to go along and get along, right?
Right.
And maybe they will.
Right. Some will for some time. I mean, you don't know, but but they're always on the edge of Trump pulling the rug out from under them, I suppose, right? I mean,
but it's the people who have not. I mean, in a weird way, I understand the corporate version of this. I don't understand the Republican senators.
Yeah, I agree. This is what it means.
If you want to tell me that Josh Hawley
literally what it means to be a senator. I mean,
Right. And if you want to tell me Josh Hawley is only 47. He's got a whole life to think about. And we're like, okay, well, Mitch McConnell's going to die soon. And the idea that it is unthinkable that he could, like, why is it unthinkable? That doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, Sarah, there's more show.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Are we still talking? We have more talking?
We're still talking. The talking goes on. But that's only for the people who are inside the Velvet Rope, the Bulwark Plus members.
Oh, they got to subscribe.
Yeah. Tell them to subscribe. Tell the people,
You should subscribe,
Sarah.
Guys. Why wouldn't you subscribe? You get all kinds of things. You get some extra me and JVL. You get some extra me and George Conway. You get JVL's Triad. This is one of the best things the Bulwark offers. I read it at least once or twice a week.
Yes. Go and subscribe. We'd love to have you.